I followed and reported a drunk driver, and then I got a ticket for driving past curfew. Last week, I was driving home from my friend's house when I noticed someone driving very erratically. They were swerving when there was nothing to avoid, and they couldn't stay in their lane. So I called the police and I followed them. The police caught up to us after a while, and they pulled over the driver. It turns out that he was extremely drunk, and when they gave him the sobriety tests, he failed them miserably. He was arrested, and the police asked me to write a statement and give them my information. I gave one of the cops my driver's license, I'm under 18, so that he could copy my address, and he said that I wasn't allowed to be driving because it was past 11. I told him that I would have been home by 11, but I noticed the drunk driver, and I didn't want someone to get hurt, so I followed them. Plus, when I called them, they asked me to keep following the man, even though it was technically past curfew. The officer said that it didn't matter, even if me driving past curfew meant that World War III was prevented, that the law is the law, and that he had to give me a ticket because I broke curfew. He said he would have to give me another ticket if I drove home myself, so I called my parents and they came and picked me up and drove the car that I was driving home. This feels so wrong. I did a good thing and I'm getting punished for it? Am I really going to have to pay the ticket, or is there some way out of it? I'm thinking of calling the police station and asking them to reduce the fine, but at this point, I'm really anxious because I have to mail something back to the court in a few days, otherwise I'll get arrested, and I don't know what to do. I'm in Pennsylvania if it matters. In the comments, it's not up to the police to reduce the fine. You have a court date, show up and tell the judge what happened, and let them decide your fate. OP says, I don't have a court date yet. I have the ticket, which says that I have to pay the fine or plead not guilty. So you're saying I should plead not guilty and go to court? I would definitely plead not guilty and go to court. Also, see if you can get the 911 audio recording for your call, since it has the request from the dispatcher that you keep following the drunk driver, so you can play it for the judge. Lurkers Will Lurk says, in addition to all of the advice you've received here, I think you might have a defense under a concept called justification. Sections 501 through 503 are the ones relevant here. 501, definitions, believes or belief, means reasonably believes or reasonable belief. 502, justification, a defense. In any prosecution based on conduct which is justifiable under this chapter, justification is a defense. 503, justification generally. The general rule is, conduct which the actor believes to be necessary to avoid a harm or evil to himself or to another is justifiable if 1. The harm or evil sought to be avoided by such conduct is greater than the sought to be prevented by the law defining the offense charged. 2. Neither the title nor other law defining the offense provides exceptions or defenses dealing with specific situations involved. And 3. Is a legislative purpose to exclude the justification claimed does not otherwise plainly appear. So let's walk through this a bit. You're charged with driving past curfew, which is a summary offense, the lowest kind of offense that someone can commit in Pennsylvania. The man you followed was arrested on suspicion of DUI, which is a misdemeanor, a higher level offense than a summary offense. You followed the driver and broke curfew because you were concerned that he was going to hurt or kill someone. If he had actually killed someone, he could have been charged with vehicular homicide while intoxicated, a second or first-degree felony, much bigger of a deal than a summary offense. It's plainly clear that you meet the first criterion for justification. The harm you sought to prevent, the dangerous driving of an intoxicated man, is far greater than the risk of you driving a few minutes past your curfew. Now we have criteria 2 and 3. The law that you're being charged with doesn't provide an exception for this specific situation unless you argue that you are performing a public service, in which case you would be found not guilty anyway. And from reading the law, it's not plainly obvious that the legislature of PA thought of this particular set of circumstances and thought, nah, we don't want young drivers to report drunk people past their curfew. This is what you'll have to argue before the judge at your court date, assuming that he or she doesn't throw out the ticket on the spot. Dress nicely. You will need to show that you were not breaking curfew until after you called 911. So screenshot your phone's call log, especially the part where it says that you called before 11 p.m. Print out 3 copies of that picture. One for yourself, one for the judge, and one for the police officer. You also might want to print out the actual text of the law. Good luck. And now, onto the update. I took the advice that I was given and I pled not guilty. Last week I went to court, and here's what happened. I brought copies of my cell phone's call log, showing that I called 911 before curfew, as well as the same records from my carrier. I also got a copy of the drunk driver's criminal complaint with the help of the court clerk, and I printed out a copy of the justification law. The hearing started with the officer saying that I was pulled over on the side of the road, that he went to investigate why I was there, and that I voluntarily confessed to driving past curfew. He said that that was all he needed to prove in order to prove my guilt, and basically left it at that. Then it was my turn to speak. I said that while I did drive past curfew, it was because I had noticed an erratic driver, and I was following him because I thought he was going to hurt someone. I felt that if I had let the man go, that he would kill somebody, and that 911 had told me to keep following him. I gave my evidence to the judge and to the police officer, and I said that I would have been home on time if not for the drunk driver. I argued that I had a reasonable belief that the man was very drunk and that the police are accusing the driver of having a .12 BAC. The judge asked the officer about the driver, and he confirmed the BAC. Finally, I brought up the justification defense. I argued that driving past curfew was a summary offense and that drunk driving was at a minimum a misdemeanor and at worst a first-degree felony if he killed someone. I said that the law clearly provided a defense to my conduct because drunk driving was clearly the greater of the two evils and because I drove in an otherwise safe manner. The judge agreed and found me not guilty. He said that I had proven my defense by a preponderance of the evidence and that I had done the right thing. I'm going to get my collateral back in the mail in a few days, and my record is clean. In the comments, the final filter says, I would really love to know what the police officer's reaction to the verdict was. Probably some version of, woohoo, I got paid overtime for showing up in court and testifying because someone actually fought my nonsense. Yup, since he's obviously working the night shift to have ticketed OP after curfew, any work he shows up for during the day is gonna be overtime, so he gets time and a half for wasting everyone's time. It's a win-win no matter how you look at it. Kid learned how important it is to know your rights and that legal injustice can be fought. Officer got overtime for being a technically correct dick. Judge got to see that officer can't be trusted to tell the whole truth and got a feel-good case. Drunk driver didn't kill someone or terrorize livestock. Dispatch learned another name to put under unreasonable dick if they didn't know it already. Terrorize livestock? Please expand on this hypothetical scenario. Well, in the course of evading DUI checkpoints one holiday season, a drunk driver caused hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage and traumatized the herd of cattle sleeping in the field. They thought the field was a good and clear shortcut for evading the checkpoint ahead, so took it. At speed. They were found in a ditch with a 10-foot embankment and the vehicle wrapped around a light pole. They were lucky the cattle weren't the show longhorns being bred a few roads over. Lamau? That comment about still giving a ticket even if it prevented World War III? This guy isn't protecting people. He's protecting the rules. Also, a cop absolutely has the discretion to not write a ticket even though a law was broken. The spirit of the law often overrides the letter of the law, and he had the option to not be a dick, but like too many others, he chose not to exercise that option. Yeah, I think it's just an example of him wanting to be a dick because he can. I would hope that any reasonable police officer in a situation like this goes, oh yeah, that's fair enough. You did the right thing in this situation. You're free to go. Thank you for keeping this drunk driver off the road. You did a good thing, and I'm going to pretend that I didn't see that you're under 18 and that you're past curfew. You get home now safe. Thank you for keeping the community safe. But no, apparently not. He's got a stick up his ass, and he goes, oh, someone I can bully? Hell yeah, I love that. This is why I don't have a particularly fond image of police officers, because I see them pulling this shit a lot. Open up social media, see body cam image of an insane injustice being committed by a police officer. have my suspicions confirmed once again. Stories like this definitely do not help my confirmation bias, that's for sure. Obviously not all cops, but too many cops. Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think of this one. Our next post is by user Chemistry Artistic, and it's titled, "My baby's grandma didn't feed him for 7 hours. I'm 15, and my baby is 9 weeks old. I generally try not to ask for help from anyone besides his dad, and sometimes my best friend, because I'm trying to set the expectation that even though I'm young, I'm still his parent, and I can take care of him and make decisions when it comes to his well-being. My baby's dad, James, and I live with his dad and stepmom, and his stepmom can be really difficult. Her advice is very outdated and often unsolicited, and she doesn't really like me as a person. She definitely views me as, for a lack of a better words, a slut that ruined James's life. I try to get along with her for everyone's sake, but we definitely still have a strained relationship. James and I, but mostly me, had a lot to do today, and I was really stressing out about getting it all done with the baby with us. We both had our first therapy appointments today. I had a follow-up appointment with my OBGYN. Our AP Lit teacher was coming into school on a Sunday to help us finish the memoirs that we've been working on, and to top it all off, we had to go buy a dress for me and a suit for him for homecoming next weekend. We definitely overbooked ourselves, and I felt really guilty about it, but I gave in and asked for her to watch our son Elliot while we were gone. She was fine with it and said she could just hang out all day. I was still very stressed out about leaving him, and so James and I wrote out exactly the routine that we keep when we are home with him during the day. We rotate days going to school in person, our expectations and routines for his needs. And I left a full can of formula, 4 bottles, and 10 diapers with wipes on the counter next to a letter telling her everything she would need to know and thanking her for watching him. Everything was fine when we were gone, and she sent a picture of him doing tummy time, so I was actually feeling okay about leaving him. But when we got home, he was just absolutely screaming in his crib, and she was reading on the couch. I asked her why she wasn't with him, and she said she took it as an opportunity for him to learn to cry it out. That made me really mad, because she knows that we're not doing that. But I was just trying to make sure he was okay, and so I didn't say anything. I did ask her when he last ate, and she said she never fed him because she wouldn't give him formula, and I didn't pump before we left. I didn't confront her about it, and just left to feed Elliot. That was all 2 hours ago, and Elliot couldn't calm down until 20 minutes ago. His dad and I were literally crying with him, trying to get him to calm down, because we are both so upset at his stepmom. She literally starved our child and forced an infant who was without the people he's been around since birth for the very first time to sit by himself and cry for hours. I'm so fucking furious at her, and I don't know what to do. She absolutely isn't allowed to be alone with him anymore, but we still live with her, and I'm scared that she'll harm our baby. I know it wasn't intentional, but she's neglecting an infant, and I don't know how to set firmer boundaries with her. In the comments, Unlucky Supernova says, "This was intentional. She hates you enough to want to harm your baby. This is not a safe situation for your family. I'm sorry." This, even the most old-school, outdated parenting advice type of people that I know would not have done this. This is straight-up neglect. Yes, take the baby to a doctor and get this recorded. He'll get checked out for any other injuries she could have caused, and then you know he is okay and safe. Also, you don't want this to come back on you either if he does have other injuries. People will assume you, the teen mum, over the grandma. How the hell is that not intentional? She deliberately ignored your instructions and starved her grandchild for 7 hours. Because she doesn't believe in formula? What? I'm angry for you. Poor baby. I would want to get the baby checked out by a doctor ASAP because 7 hours is a long time for a 9-week-old. Babies that young can get dehydrated very quickly. They need to be fed every few hours. I'm so sorry this happened to you. I can't even imagine. I would be furious. Never let her watch the baby again. I don't have a village. All the grandparents are too old or have health issues. My mother-in-law recently watched my baby for 4 hours and she did feed him, but was late doing so and didn't feed him enough. She ignored my instructions, and I probably won't instruct her to babysit again, at least not if I'm going to be longer than like an hour. Not having a village to help really sucks. That's my thing. Formula is not just food, it's hydration at this point too, since he's too young for water. He could have gotten really dehydrated. He's not going to starve to the point of injury after 7 hours, but I'd be worried about his hydration, to be honest. Yeah, this is incredibly serious. This is take this issue to the police level of serious and get something done about her. I understand in the moment you had to kind of brush it off and go do what is best for your baby so you couldn't confront her. I don't think it's even worth confronting her at this point. I think you just go to the police with everything that you have right now and ask them, how do you action this? What can we do to make sure that some justice is brought against this diabolical, disgusting woman? Because she did starve your child. She intentionally ignored the instructions you gave her, and she said, I refuse to feed him formula. Oh, cool. And I refuse to see you as a person anymore. And the next time I want to see you is behind bars. Because that is genuinely criminal behavior, you psychopath. And now, on to the update. Thank you to everyone who responded with support and advice. I genuinely appreciate it so much, and finding an online community that supports me like this has been amazing. James and I talked to his dad, and we decided that it was best to take him to the ER. The doctor said he was severely dehydrated, to the point where they had to put a tube in his nose because he was refusing the bottle and breast. We're staying overnight with him in the hospital and seeing a social worker in the morning to talk over our options. James's dad called his wife and told her not to be there when we get back tomorrow and that he wants a divorce. So hopefully we won't be dealing with her anymore. This whole thing has been really hard for James and I to even see happening. I feel so guilty for asking her to watch him, and I know I shouldn't have been even planning to go to homecoming when I could be staying home with him instead. We love Elliot more than I can even put here, and it kills me to see him like this. He's asleep on James's chest right now, and I'm sitting in a chair next to his bed crying because I can't believe that woman was evil enough to punish my beautiful little baby by starving him. It's so hard trying to balance everything, and I'm trying hard to be a good mom and student and friend, and it just feels impossible right now. I didn't plan on getting pregnant, and I certainly didn't plan on my pregnancy and motherhood journey being as hard as it has been. And it's just fucking evil for her to punish my child for a mistake his parents made at 14. In the comments, Embarrassed Shop says, I'm glad to read this. She belongs in jail. Don't be so hard on yourself. You are being very responsible for such a young person in a difficult situation. You had no reason to believe that an adult would abuse your child. You left detailed instructions and did nothing wrong. You're allowed to still want to do a few things for yourself, especially when you leave your child in the care of those who you thought were a responsible caretaker. OP replies, thank you so much. Erin Elizabeth says, you left your child with someone who you thought would be a safe person so you could go out and experience something important to you. You didn't do anything wrong. If there was no history of this, how could you have known that she would do this? If you knew that she was capable of doing something like this, and you still chose to leave him with her, then sure, but that's not what happened. Sweetheart, you're doing the best you can with the resources you have available to you. And now that you have more information, you will make different choices next time and seek out new resources to support you. Making a mistake in trusting someone who you should be able to inherently trust does not make you a bad mother. The fact you took your child to get medical attention makes you a good mother. The fact you were so upset about this makes you a great mother. The fact you see the situation for how unacceptable it is, and you're making new decisions and placing new safeguards in to ensure this never happens again, makes you a superb mother. This was hard, and this shouldn't have happened. I'm so sorry you all had to experience this. You will all grow from this experience. There will be more hardships along the way, but experiencing them together and getting through them together as a family unit will be key to getting to the other side of them. Please take care of yourselves. That includes you being kind to yourself. Castaway Mum says, I'm so glad you guys went to the ER. You're an amazing mum, and you're handling everything so well. I'm very glad his dad is taking action against the grandma, quote-unquote, and I hope he follows through and does leave her. What she did to the baby was beyond cruel. You obviously love your baby very much, and I hope things get easier for you. You guys have done everything right, so don't blame yourself. I'm really glad that your baby is okay and that you're getting proper care. You did the right thing, and I'm glad his father sided with you guys as well. That being said, I really think you should press charges against her. The hospital social worker can help you. And OP says, I'm anxious about getting the cops involved in any way because we're so young, but I'm talking over pressing charges with James. As I said, I think they do need to press charges, and I think James's father should get actively involved in this, in that he can corroborate the story, he can get more information out of her to confirm that she did in fact do this, she intended to do this, and that she is an evil and malicious person, which is leading him to divorce her. That makes sense to me. I would hope that justice gets delivered swiftly in a situation like this, but you never know what's going to happen. You never know if OP will go through with it. This is all they've given me so far. So I'm curious to see what she does decide to do in the future. Our next post is by user IdiotDadTA, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for telling my brother-in-law that my daughter is ugly? My 37 male, wife 38 female, and I have a 9-year-old daughter, and my wife is also 7 months pregnant with our son. When our daughter was younger, she looked a lot like me, but as she aged, she started to look more and more like her mum. Please note that I have very, very manly features. I was having a beer with my brother-in-law in the backyard while our daughters played inside the house. We were getting a bit tipsy. It's fine since his wife can drive. We got to talking about kids and how I wanted my son to take after me. He brought up the fact that our daughter started out like my clone, and I said, yeah, thank God she's slowly starting to look more and more like her mum. Can you imagine this? I point at my face, on a teenage girl? Her life would suck. Well, my wife was in earshot because she was bringing us food. She dumped it in front of us and called me an asshole for saying our daughter is ugly. She walked back to the house crying, and when I chased after her, she told me to stay away. Brother and sister-in-law left shortly after, and I did all the cleanup myself and put my daughter to bed. I wasn't super drunk, just a bit tipsy. When I went to sleep, my wife was still awake and she pretty much exiled me to the couch because apparently I think our daughter is ugly. I tried to apologize for that, but she wasn't having it. She's pregnant, so I didn't want to stress her out. I spent an uncomfortable night on the couch, and now my back hurts like hell. My wife and daughter are still asleep as I'm typing this. I don't think I did anything wrong, but am I the asshole? Is this her hormones, or am I really callous for saying something like that? Edit, just to clarify, no food was wasted. By dumping it in front of us, I meant she angrily put it on the table and stormed off. She's not a monster. In the comments, these are the only comments to OP. The first one is in response to a deleted commenter where OP says, I actually like how I look, which is why I would love for my son to look like me. It's just that my features aren't really ideal for a girl. Thanks for the insight though, I'll keep that in mind. Another commenter says, no assholes here, but you really shouldn't comment on your daughter's attractiveness for the next 10 years or so. You think your pregnant wife is hormonal and getting overly emotional? How do you think your daughter's going to be in 3 or 4 years? At 9, it's probably not a big deal, but at 12, if she overheard you, she could fixate on it for a long time. Just keep that in mind for the future. And you're not the asshole, but apologize to your wife. She's hormonal and overreacting, but this is not the hill you want to die on. OP gets downvoted and says, oh yeah, I'm more than willing to swallow my pride in this scenario. Being wrong while being able to sleep on a bed and having sex with my wife is so much better than being right and sleeping on the couch. Further down in the comments, Juniperberry says, drunk husband plus pregnant wife equals misunderstandings. Agreed. No assholes here. Yes and no. It's clear that you didn't intend to insult your daughter. However, it's easy to say things when intoxicated, even tipsy, that sound alright in your head but come out not quite right. I recommend waiting until she cools off and apologizing to your wife, making it clear that you love your daughter and were making a bad attempt at humor. Maybe take your daughter and her out to ice cream if they enjoy that. Just be kind and make an effort not to say things that are insensitive. It's a good habit to have in life anyway. 1 out of 5 on the arsehole scale. Forget that, I count my blessings every time someone says my children look like my wife. Not the arsehole. When your wife calms down, explain the context like you did on here. I don't even think that you really called your daughter ugly, you just made a joke about her growing up looking like you. I don't think that she's an arsehole either, just hormonal and misunderstood. I think there's a lot of ways you could interpret this scenario as to what each of them meant by their upset at the situation. Because I definitely see a situation where she gets upset that he thinks he is ugly because she finds him incredibly attractive, and it would be insulting for him to insult his looks like that to her, and then saying that he thinks so low of himself, he would think even lower of his daughter if she were to be cursed with him, and therefore she might also think that he's judging her for even picking him as a partner. That's just one of many possibilities as to how all of this could have been interpreted in the moment. Obviously, I am overcomplicating this, but I can only imagine how overcomplicated the situation was in her head when she heard this, especially given that she is so pregnant. And those hormones would be sending crazy thoughts into her head. I can only imagine. I feel terribly for the both of them. And I agree with the comments. I think this was all just a misunderstanding. And it is on OP to apologize for this one. Even though I don't think OP did anything truly evil, truly bad, you just have to recognize that you said something hurtful, which you shouldn't have said in the first place. And now you're going to have to make peace because you are the instigator in this situation. And now, onto the update. Okay, I just want to clarify a few things. I have no self-confidence issues or anything. I think my looks are well above average for a guy, but I have really hard features and a resting angry face, so it really wouldn't look very good on a girl. Trust me, I know. My sister looks like me. My daughter has grown to resemble my wife a lot more than me, with my wife's softer features, except she has a resting bitch face, which hopefully scares off the boys. Just kidding. I know every dad says it, but my daughter is beautiful. Also, this is the first time that my wife has actually kicked me out of bed after being together for over a decade. It's unlike her, so this was definitely a one-time thing. Also, what's the issue that some people have with my wife serving me food? We have a very healthy relationship. I take care of her, she takes care of me. Isn't that how it's supposed to go? Don't sell me on the whole power dynamic crap. That ain't for me. So, onto the real update. After reading a few of the comments, I decided to make things right and apologize. She was still asleep, so I took our daughter to pick up some of her favorite waffles in our local diner and got her her usual order there. My daughter and I set it all up, and I woke my wife up with breakfast in bed. She still looked like she wanted to stab me, but she lightened up a bit when she saw the food. I sent my daughter out to watch Netflix, and my wife and I had a talk about what happened. I laid it on thick, as one Redditor suggested. I told her how I meant that I had very masculine features that I'm glad our daughter grew out of. How I was so happy she's starting to take after the most beautiful woman in the world. This is true. Apparently, my wife thought that I was calling her and our daughter ugly. No idea where that came from, but okay. I explained it all and how it went down. She had the pretending to be mad face that can melt anyone's heart as she stuffed her face with food. I kissed her on the forehead and promised to make it up to her today, which was yesterday. I ended up taking both of them out for lunch, ordered takeout for dinner, and ate a boatload of ice cream that night while watching movies together with our kid. Cherry on top? I actually got to sleep on a bed, cuddling with the love of my life. Best night in a long time. Was I wrong? Was she wrong? Well, to be honest, none of that really matters anymore. It's behind us. Something like this isn't the hill that I want to die on, and I'd rather sleep on a bed with my lovely wife than keep my pride intact sleeping on the death couch fighting back pain. Thanks, guys. I can't believe an Am I the Asshole post turned into a relationship advice post. In the comments, Girl Mode says, "Sister catching strays like that, damn, cold." No, literally, what did she do to deserve that? She was in the line of fire of his apology. I guess it worked out, although, poor sister. Watch as she finds out that he's got to make a big apology for that. At this rate, he'll give up drinking and Reddit. To quote Taylor Tomlinson, "I was an ugly kid with honest parents, and that shit stays in your bones." My father-in-law to this day still says that his one and only daughter was an ugly baby/child, but she got better looking when she got older. To her face, and in front of anyone and everyone. Honestly, no wonder she has low self-esteem and a poor image of herself. Once when I was pretty young, one of my cousins on my dad's side told me that I looked exactly like my dad as a compliment, and I burst into tears. My dad was an ugly motherfucker, inside and out. I had this all the time. Everyone said I looked like my dad. One of his friends took a look at me when I was a teen and said, "Well, don't need a DNA test for that one." My dad was a 50-year-old man at the time who was a heavy smoker, drinker, and a complete asshole. I grew up thinking I looked like a man, and I still hate seeing his face and all the horrible memories that come with it when looking in the mirror. Boyfriend won't stop telling me I have BO. I've been with my boyfriend for over a year, and everything's been great except for one thing. Every single day, at least once, he'll tell me that I stink and smell of BO. When we met, I showered every day, applied regular deodorant in the morning, brushed my teeth 3 times a day, and now I'm so paranoid about smelling bad that I shower at least twice a day. I apply new, industrial-strength deodorant every few hours. I have a reminder on my phone, perfume, and I brush my teeth anytime I eat or drink something that isn't water. I feel like I'm going crazy. I didn't think I smelled bad in the beginning, and I don't think I smell bad now, but I obviously smell bad to him, right? I'm that weirdo that keeps sneakily smelling their own armpits. I've been to the doctor, and he said that there's nothing medically wrong. It's honestly gotten to the point where I literally shove my armpit in my friends' and family's faces, asking if I smell bad. They all say that I don't smell like BO at all. One friend even said that I smelled too clean, like a Lush store. I'm getting so paranoid. He won't cuddle or anything when he says I smell. I really don't know what more I can do. In the comments, Princess Shira says, "Either it's just one of those times where you smell bad to him and to him only, or he's doing this on purpose to avoid intimacy or control you or something. An ex-husband of mine did this to me. He wouldn't be intimate, but blamed me, a number of reasons, including I had bad breath. I went to the dentist, who told me that there was nothing wrong with my breath. It's not you, it's him. He's negging you so that you're desperate to earn his approval. Break up with him, the piece of shit. Break up with him. Either his sense of smell is off, or he's doing this on purpose to hurt your self-esteem." Sounds like classic negging to me. It really does. And I can see why it is so effective, because he's not just saying it as an offhanded piece of advice, quote unquote. It comes with the baggage of, get away from me, I want no intimacy, your presence is disgusting, and you need to fix it. Otherwise, I'm going to continue withholding this from you. And it's not my fault that I'm doing this, by the way. It's your fault because you're a disgusting creature. That's so gross to do to someone that you're supposed to love. But hey, negging pieces of shit are going to do what they do. And I hope that they get the karma that is coming to them. I hope that their negging results in the opposite of what they're trying to achieve. It doesn't always, but it's great to see when it does. And now, onto the update. So, unexpected edit. I waited for him to make a comment this morning so I could talk to him. It was less than an hour after waking up that he said, "God, you stink." I had already showered and put on deodorant. I snapped and asked what exactly he was smelling, because at this point, I'm one of the cleanest people on the planet, and if I still smell bad to him, then we should just break up. He got all panicked and upset. I eventually got out of him that this is what his father always said to his mother. Apparently his father told him that this was a surefire technique to have a woman never leave you because she'll feel too low to cheat, and will only love you, and will always be clean. Needless to say, his father is wrong, he's packing his things, and is moving out of my house today. In the comments, Pancreatic Pirate says, "Holy shit, that update. His father basically groomed him to be an emotional abuser. I'm so glad you ended that. Hopefully he learns from this." I couldn't believe the edit, like what the hell? Poor girl. I'm so glad she left him. But holy crap, what a great edit. She not only called him out perfectly, but she saw past his excuse and moved the fuck on. Imagine him thinking that his attempts to manipulate her to settle for him would end well. OP upgraded for sure by dumping him. Before I actually read the last paragraph, I thought that OP was going to say that they're going to work on his issues together before a few of the recent update threads. That was a proper surprise twist ending. Good job, OP. I wish many other women had your confidence. Imagine telling a girl she smells to make her want you more. Fuck, people are stupid. Makes me feel bad for OP's ex's mother. I'm really paranoid about stinking, because when I was a teen, my parents often said that I smelled bad, and it didn't help when I used heaps and heaps of deodorants and still got comments. If somebody used this to emotionally manipulate me, I would go ballistic. I'm so glad that OP got out of that. What a piece of shit. Vice versa, I had a girlfriend once who really liked my body odor. When we woke up in the mornings, she'd just take a breath of me and tell me how wonderful it was. I can't even tell you how healing that was. Wouldn't it be nice? Oh, wouldn't it be fantastic to have that? But no, just kidding. I'm not gonna yuck anyone's yums, even though it doesn't seem like a yuck to me. I know I've thrown around that cliche of Occam's razor, oh, don't attribute malice to what could be easily stupidity. But no, in situations where I feel like it's clear that he's just being a dick, I'm gonna say it. I still feel like that's an excuse. I feel like he had that excuse ready to go, being like, actually, that's what my dad used to do to my mum. I didn't know any better. You know, I have no critical thinking faculties, and I have no discernment of what's right or wrong in the world. So really, I had no idea that what I was doing was evil. Forgive me, for I am ignorant. No. Piece of shit right there. I'm glad OP took the advice of the comments and just kicked his ass out of her life. Removed his presence. We don't need that energy in 2025, hell nah. And that's all I've got for you today, guys. I do hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.